Thanks, Pierce, for having me. My name is Nicholas Felton. I am a graphic designer, and I'm going to show you a recent project called the 2009 Feltron Annual Report. Feltron is sort of a pseudonym for my design practice. My last name is Felton. It causes a lot of confusion. So at the end of 2005, I created a thing for my website that was this archaeological look at my year. I called it the 2005 Annual Report. And I thought only friends and family would be sort of interested in this statistical and graphical look at my year. And it started trickling out into other places. Actually, Swiss Miss was one of the first people to find it and start promoting it. And I started seeing it popping up on blogs and people saying, wow, that's a great idea. I'd like to do one for myself. So I decided this was my idea and I was going to stick with it. So in 2006, I actually set out to start collecting information to create this view of my year, which, you know, as a graphic designer, I'd been searching for a while for means of telling stories, content that I could call my own. And this was something drawn from my own life that was unique to me, and I felt I had a unique way of presenting it. So this one I actually printed. It left the internet and became a printed piece that I sent to anyone who asked me for a copy. And again, it grew in scale. In 2007, I did it again, more elaborately, and was actually able to charge for this, the print editions of this. And you can see I started looking at mapping. I tracked every street that I walked down in New York City in that year. Everything just got a lot more elaborate in 2007. This is the 2008 report. This again grew in scale. I printed 3,000 copies of it, and it was all based on this one idea of figuring out one number that would stand for my year. So I thought of a bunch of different things. There are lots of quantities I could talk about, like how many coffees I'd had or how many miles I'd run, but I felt that miles traveled was something that really could be a great culmination of the year. So it would talk about all the mundane things, like how many subway miles I traveled, but it would also talk about the things, the outliers, like how many miles I flew or the 1 mile hayride that I took. All those little things would be culminated in this one number, which was 38,524. But what I really want to tell you about is the 2009 report. And in 2009, I brought to life this idea I'd had for a while, which was rather than looking at how I saw my year and the things that I remembered about it, why not look at what other people remembered about my year and what they took away from their encounters with me. So I made these nice little letterpress cards. And if you had a meaningful encounter with me, last year, you received one of these cards. And so meaningful was my way of having a little sort of legalese around who received these. Typically, if I talked to you for more than about 10 minutes, you would get one of these cards, regardless of how awkward the situation was. So, you know, my dentist got one, my banker got one, people who are out of the sort of arts world that would understand this sort of thing. My favorite that was actually unresponded to was a Homeland Security officer at Newark Airport who wanted to know why I was coming back from Hong Kong with a bag full of envelopes. And so I started telling him about this and hoped that he would respond. So anyways, you would get this individually numbered card. It was letterpressed. It was supposed to be something nice that you would hang on to and would haunt you and cause you to go to this URL and fill out a little survey about your experience with me that year. So all I tracked in 2009 were the recipient of the card, where I gave it to them, and the time that they received it. So most of the work I thought would be in the hands of others. Ultimately, I had 1,761 encounters, a surprisingly high completion rate of 32%, and over 200 individuals who submitted surveys to me. This is a visualization of that data. So these concentric rings represent years of my life, with the earliest being in the center and the latest being on the outside edge. So my family's clustered in the center and newer friends on the outside with sort of college and high school in the middle. And the dots represent how many encounters you had and how many reports I received. So office mates who were really bored with the project received a lot, but responded very uncommonly. And then this is a look at the distribution. So where did I give out these cards? How did it fluctuate through the year in terms of responses and cards given out? But the bulk of the project was based here. So if you went to that URL, you would see different fields asking you to respond to all these different questions. Mostly they were pretty straightforward, like where did we go, what did we eat, or what did I drink? And then a couple of more qualitative questions, like what was my mood, and what was your favorite moment? Sort of, leading questions that were really interesting to me because I feel unqualified myself to talk about my mood in any sort of consistent way. At the end of the project, this is how many words I had to deal with. So the parsing of it was kind of a chore. And here's a sample response. This one's kind of an easy one. It was responded to by Julian, one of my office mates' 5-year-old sons. And so we played computers, and this is what I got back from him. This is a look at a friend's food response. So these are the sort of things I'd have to deal with. Sarah cooked a meal, cabbage stew with white wine, rosemary garlic bread, and a pear tart. So start lining all these things up in Excel, trying to make sense of them. You can see the report number on the side and then their response. Then I have to start sort of tagging all this stuff and breaking it down into flavors, fruits, vegetables, meats. And then I can start making comparisons between like items. And this is a list of my vegetables from last year. And then I also know, like, over time, how many I had. So I can look at my fish apex in September. Meat was really popular in October. And that's where it starts getting interesting. And then I can start visualizing it. So looking at these peaks and troughs over time and how they fluctuate, and starting to make rudimentary associations between them. So food is, it's similar to a lot of the other things like drinking, and the topics were treated this way. This is a look at where and where else. So if you said I was in one place, I marked that as a spot. If you said we were here and there, then it gets a straight line. If we went to a bunch of places, then all these knots start coming together. And so this is the output from a little program that parses all that. But then, in its printed form, you get this nice little tapestry of travels through the city. But this is one of the most interesting parts of the project for me. And this is the mood. So here's a look at just some of the words that I received as feedback towards my mood. So a lot of them, I think we all know, like, good, that's a great thing. But I got strange things like chopsticks, which I don't know on a spectrum of happy to sad or where to put chopsticks. And it's really troubling because it's an amazing data set, and it's something I'd thought about all year, and I had some real questions that I wanted answered about my personality, like, am I a happy or sad person, or am I an extrovert or an introvert? And I know it's in this data, but I didn't know how to get at it. And then I came to Amazon's Mechanical Turk. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's a pretty amazing service, and it's a lot of anonymous people out there in the world who will do repetitive tasks for pennies. So I made a couple of surveys, and I fed in all those words, and I asked people, is this word happy or sad, or neither or both? Is this word introverted or extroverted, or neither or both? And I had 5 people rate each word, and you can see this is some of the feedback, so things are categorized here. And they'd send little notes like, oh, that's a great word, that's super happy, or that could mean both. So there were real people there. But ultimately, I could start to quantify these words. So you can see that little emoticon of the smiley face in the top corner. That received a 5. And 5 was represented as happy as you could be. A 0 was neutral, and -5 would be negative. So you can look through here, and chopsticks is a 0.8, so it's slightly happy. Bemused is a 5. Beery, they thought was slightly negative. That's -0.4. So all these things could get tabulated in a methodical and hopefully repetitive scientific manner, and I could come up with a finding like this. So my average temperament was swell, which was the word that matched up. It correlated the most with a rating of 73.9% happy. And then here's my mood over the course of the year. You can see the boundaries for happiness and for sadness, and that's that meeting point of the green and the white is sort of the midpoint. So you can see it's trending to the happy level. And I answered the extrovert-introvert question. It turns out I'm neither, and there's a thing called an ambivert, which is right in that line. So 59.9% extroverted and 40.1% introverted. And then this is just a last look at the way that I displayed this information. So I feel it's important when displaying as sort of because I do mostly information graphics for my living, this is one of my key points of my approach, is that to show a data set, it's nice to show the breadth and the depth of it. You don't have to show it all. And so in this presentation of my annual report, you can see here, this is sort of this macro level of all the data that's incorporated in this happiness and sadness metric. And then we get these sort of mid-level displays, which are little key points like types of negative moods. We've quantified that at 80. And then back down into the data set. So this is actually sharing with you, here's what was received. Here's the questions, and you see it flowing all the way through the mid and high level displays. And that's it. Thank you.